we'll go there. So I guess first things first, name and title.
Sarah Godlewski. I am the state treasurer of Wisconsin and a candidate for the U.S. Senate.
Yes, and a lot of people, I know you've done tours saying exactly what it is the state treasurer does, but for some of us, I mean, myself included, voting for state treasurer is never something I thought I would have to do, being a child or a person who's lived in 3 different states. Give us an idea, I guess, just the 5th grade tour version of what the state treasurer does, and then how you think that's kind of preparing you for this next job that you're aspiring to.
So the state treasurer is Wisconsin's chief financial officer. So part of my responsibilities include everything from I chair a $1.3 billion trust fund, which benefits our public schools and have investment authority. I also make sure that, we have taxpayer transparency. And a big one of my pillars is also dealing with economic security. So we've been working with Wisconsinites to do affordable home ownership or child savings accounts, issues that really help people get ahead financially.
Yeah, indeed, because you say the term state treasurer, and that sounds like, somebody that just signs the checks and maybe has the state Wells Fargo app on their phone for access to something like that. I assume that's not necessarily the case, or it's not that simple.
I do sign the state checkbook, so if you got a tax refund, you saw my name in the corner, that's for sure.
Okay, gotcha. But you don't have the state Wells Fargo app, right? Or
No.
is it Associated Bank?
No, don't have that app, quite frankly. But I do, you will see my John Hancock in the corner.
Okay.
Old school style.
Exactly. Some of us, no matter how young we are, we still appreciate that. Obviously, the way things have gone here the last few years, things have been very divisive, be it in Madison, be it in Washington. What is it that makes you want to run into that voluntarily instead of saying, you know what, there's other people that can handle that. I'll just handle things here at home?
Well, I actually have a degree in peace and conflict resolution. And you can imagine, growing up in Eau Claire, my parents are 2 retired public school teachers, and when they found out that's what I was going to school to do, they're like, how are you going to pay your bills on that? And I feel like I found myself in no better of a place because for me, I've always been working across the aisle to get things done. I actually started my career supporting the Pentagon and working across the aisle for national security. To when I became state treasurer, one of the first things I did was meet with anybody and everybody and met Republicans where they are and listened, and was really proud to have 2 task forces where I had active bipartisan participation. And we actually have right now a child savings account bill called 401 Kids that's moving its way through the legislature that would get every kid in the state of Wisconsin a savings account so they could buy a home, or they could use it for retirement security or medical emergencies or even education. And so to me, it's that same work ethic, that same ability to get things done is what I want to bring to the U.S. Senate, because what I'm so frustrated about is we're not getting anything done. And to me, it's like enough is enough, whether it is making sure we tackle the climate crisis, to stand up to big pharma and big oil and their profiteering on working Wisconsinites. Mm-hmm. And so these are things that I've been doing, and I want to now do for the U.S. Senate and serve Wisconsin.
Yeah, and you kind of hit my next sweet spot right there, talking about working across the aisle and things like that, because the 2 major headlines of the day right now, gun control and abortion. It seems like everybody's got their feet in the cement right now. Nobody's moving on any of this, and if you don't think the same way, you're just... we're going to leave those names out there right now, but everybody's heard them. How does that then translate for you to going to Wisconsin or to going to Washington and getting something done about this?
Well, let's take gun control, for example. We know 80% of Wisconsinites want common sense gun safety legislation. 70% of gun owners in Wisconsin want common sense gun safety legislation. Why aren't we seeing any more work on common sense gun safety legislation? It's because when you look at our Senator, Ron Johnson, he's getting over $1.2 million from the NRA. It's clear he doesn't represent us. He represents the special interests. And it's like, enough is enough. I mean, for me, these aren't extreme things. Like, we want to make sure we have background checks and close loopholes. We want to make sure that, high capacity magazines aren't being purchased. To literally, I don't think we need weapons of war in our communities. I grew up in Western Wisconsin, part of a family that hunts. And as I say, if you need an AR-15 to shoot a deer, go back to target practice. And so, to me, these are just common sense things that we've got to start doing. And I really believe we can work across the aisle because this is what a majority of Wisconsinites want us to get done for them.
So then what you're saying is you don't want to go into anybody's house and take their guns for no reason at all. Being a Republican is not going to be reason for a red flag law to be put into effect on someone, right?
I don't want to take anybody's guns. And growing up in my family, responsible gun owners want to be with other responsible gun owners. That's how we stop these mass shootings from happening. But right now, it's easier to buy a gun than to vote. It's easier to buy a gun than to buy alcohol. I mean, it just, to me, simply doesn't make sense. And we've got to change these laws so all of us can be responsible gun owners.
So then, talking about abortion and things like that, where do you see maybe is the middle ground where we can come together and say it's okay to a certain extent, or it's allowable if you are dealing with something like this, or that health issues for either the mother or the unborn child?
Well, for me, this is really, the first question is, can we just give women the right to choose? I mean, right now, we don't even have that ability to make that decision. Ron Johnson and the government has said, okay, women, we want to make that healthcare decision for you. And so I think before we get into what stage or where, we've got to first say, we want women and their doctors to be able to make that decision, because right now in Wisconsin, women don't have that right anymore. And the repercussions are we put doctors in jail or we fine them. And these are the medical professionals. Ron Johnson's not a medical professional. I think we need to allow women and doctors to make these decisions.
Yes, indeed. And Ron Johnson is also somebody at one point who had said, take, Listerine for COVID-19. That's not medical advice anybody should be taking from him. So you're saying maybe this isn't the type of medical advice we should be taking from him either.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of his, again, conspiracy theories, whether it is you should take, mouthwash can cure COVID, to ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, which are like, horse deworming pills, can cure COVID. It's like, enough is enough. We need women and medical professionals to make their healthcare decisions, not politicians.
So for you, is it the choice comes into the healthcare aspect of the choice, and you think that's something that we should be able to meet in the middle on, at least, even if you are somebody who says we should be protecting this life at all costs, no matter what?
I mean, for me, this is about liberty and it's about freedom. Because right now, I don't have the freedom to make my own healthcare decisions when it comes to reproductive rights. And so, what's next? If it's my rights today, who's going to be tomorrow? And we have seen that the Supreme Court is willing to take away rights and precedent that has been ingrained in our system for decades. And so this is what I worry about, is what freedoms are they going to take from me next?
Anything else you'd like to add then before we let you get back to the camaraderie over there?
One of the things we haven't talked about is I'm a fifth generation Wisconsinite and, the daughter of two public school teachers. And for me, it's about Ron Johnson just doesn't care about Wisconsin. And I think one of the big differentiators for me in this race is that I'm the only candidate that has won Ron Johnson's county. I'm the only candidate that has actually won 9 Trump counties when I ran in 2018, which was more than the governor and lieutenant governor. And so if folks are really looking at who's the candidate that can win, they got to look at the candidate that has the best record, and I'm that candidate.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, stop.